Hey there, Ian Thompson here with the second part of our camera match tutorial. In this tutorial we'll do our camera match in an external application, that application being SketchUp, and we'll take that information and then use it inside of LightWave to create our final render. So let's get started. Okay, the image we'll be using is this one that you can see here. The previous image was a fairly simple one-point perspective. This one has very clear two-point perspective and should give us some interesting results. So let's move forward. Okay, we'll close this down. We don't need this anymore. And we'll open up SketchUp. The version of SketchUp I'm using here is the free version. It works perfectly well. To do this tutorial, however, if you want to follow along, you'll need to download two plugins. So if you open up your browser, first place you can go to look is the Ruby library depot, and you'll need this plugin here, the LWO export-005. So download that plugin first. The second plugin that you'll need, hop over to the New Tech forums and do a quick search for SketchUp camera thread here, and you can move down. Let me just expand this out here and download this Export LightWave Camera 02 version. The person responsible for this is a visual effects wizard, so it's a really cool little Ruby script which is going to help us a lot in this tutorial. So download those two plugins, and then what you'll need to do is install them into your version of SketchUp. Now I'll try and include a link in the description below as to where those need to be installed, and when you've successfully installed those, then you'll find them under the camera heading. It'll say camera to LightWave scene, and the other one will be found under tools, and it's called export LightWave object. So with your plugins installed, we need to get our image into SketchUp to start off this process, and there are two ways we can do that. We can either go to camera and click on the match new photo, or in this little window here to the right we can click on this little plus sign here. Either way, you will be able to go into a dialog box here, and you can choose your images, and as you can see I've got my Camera Match 2 JPEG here. So I'll click open, and SketchUp opens a new window. If you notice now, all my tools are grayed out apart from these magnification tools here, and I've got this interactive perspective grid here to do my camera matching. So the first thing to do is to select this point here. This is the origin point, and we need to set this before we go ahead and set our perspective lines. So click on this small box, yellow box here, and place the origin where you want. I basically I'm just going to set mine here next to this glass panel here. So I'll position it roughly there, and then whilst my cursor is hovering over this little yellow box here, I'm going to use the middle mouse button and zoom in. So I'm just scrolling the middle mouse button so I can zoom in on the image and get a tighter fit there, right on that corner. Okay, and then again roll the mouse to zoom back out again. Okay, that's the first point done. The next point is to match our perspective lines. Now we can see here we've got two vanishing points where these lines are radiating to, and it clearly is not the same as our vanishing points, where our vanishing points are on our image in the background. The red side is closer, but the green side is way off. So what I'm going to do now is use these two colored perspective lines here, and I'm just going to roughly position them on my image. So this one I'm going to place down here. It doesn't matter if it's not accurate yet. I'm just going to put one of these little boxes on the line which I'm going to use as a match, and I'll place the other one there. I'll move the red ones over to this side, and the next one I'll place on this wall here. Okay, so that's a very rough placement started off. So same with the origin point. I'll move my mouse over the box and zoom in to get a finer placement. So I'll just place that. Now it's good practice actually with this to actually place it, if you can, on a corner point, mainly because you've got three corners here which you can use to actually pinpoint where these where this box is going to go. So again, we'll move out, zoom out, and then we'll force the perspective now to start matching this background image. You can see that everything's going haywire at the moment, but that's fine. It's because we are forcing the perspective now to what we want. So I'll place this here, zoom out again, go up to the top one. Now again, this is a good corner point which I can use, so I'm going to drag this one over here to this corner point, zoom in, just get it spot on there, and zoom out again, and then move the next one to this corner point here. Like so. Zoom out. So now you can see it's done a little bit better job now. We're still not matched perfectly, but this side is now matching the perspective to the right, the perspective vanishing point to the right. So now we've got to take care of this left side. Now here you can see there's a little problem that happens sometimes with this, is that I can no longer access this side. The box to the left here is out of view. So to correct that problem, just click done, and then you can move with the pan tool, move the image back into the center here, and then click this little icon here of gears, and then we'll go back into our camera match mode and we can continue. So here I'm going to zoom in and place this over there. Second one, I'm just going to move it up, make it shorter. It doesn't really matter the length of these, it's just the position that we're interested in. And place it on that corner point there. Zoom out. And the final one down here. I'm going to position this one, this corner point here. Zoom out. And a final one over here. And zoom out again. So just a quick check, make sure everything's okay. Yep, that seems fine to me. You can zoom in and out as often as you like and just keep checking them, and That seems okay. Alright, once you've positioned your perspective guides onto your background image, then all you need to do is hit done. Now you see that our axis here, the blue, green and red axis, are now matching our perspective. So at this point we're actually done, and I can take this now into LightWave. So let's do that now. So all I need to do here is go to my camera and come down here to where it says camera to LightWave scene and click. What it wants me to do now is it wants me to save a LightWave scene. So I'll click on my scenes folder and I'll say camera match 3. So that's SketchUp finished. We don't need SketchUp anymore. We've successfully matched our background image using this interactive perspective guide tool inside of SketchUp. So let's hop over now into LightWave. Okay, here we are in LightWave, and we now need to bring in that information into LightWave. So first thing is we will open, go to File, Load Scene, and we're looking for Camera Match 3, and we will open that file. So we don't actually see that much at the moment. Let's just go into our perspective view. You can see if I zoom out, our camera has been moved and it's pointing to this null object with this line indicating where it's pointing. So in a sense our camera is actually matched, but it doesn't really mean that much at the moment because we don't know what it's matching to. So let's take our camera view here, and then basically we're going to repeat the process of tutorial 1 now, where we bring in our image. So we'll click on the the image editor, load our image, use camera match 2, the same image that we used before. So LightWave's got that little bit of information about this image. So next we'll go to Windows, Compositing Options, Background Image. We will use the camera match JPEG. So this is looking a little bit better. You can see our grid now here, and this seems to be matching quite well. And if you remember from the first part of the tutorial, all the tweaking that we had to do of the camera to get to this kind of position, it's all been done for us in this using this method. We're not quite there yet though. Let's go to our camera and click on the camera properties, and we're using a classic camera here, so we'll do the same thing as before and use the real lens camera, and we'll say from image and click the camera match 2. Now you'll notice this is a different camera and information's been input into the camera. We'll say OK and close these dialog boxes down. You'll notice that the camera has now been set to the image size, the dimension of the actual image here and here. So we can close those down now, we don't need those anymore. And our image now is done. We are matched. And just to double check this, we can just quickly grab our geometry here. We'll place a ground plane. one here. Shrink that down. H, just shrink it down. And again. Say okay. Whoops. Created a keyframe there. Use the modeler tool again. And this time create a cube. Hit T for move. And we can move this one around. We can see that it's matched quite nicely. Let's just do a quick VPR render. Our light source is in the wrong position, so let's take care of that. Let's go out of this. In fact, what I'll do here is just go to D on the keyboard and go from a single viewport to a quad viewport. And then I can grab a couple of the other things. So let's change this one to perspective view. Zoom out here. So we can see our camera is pointing, and these are our objects. First thing I'm going to do is just reduce the size of this cube down a little bit. It's a little bit large. There we go. And next I'll take this light here, it's just a distant light, and I'll just roughly match by hitting Y on the keyboard for rotate, and just move this around here. We can see in our text is shaded solid mode, the shadows are moving around. So let's go to VPR and move this around. We can see down here, let's just expand this again. This shadow is from the original image. We can see that shadow line there. So I'm just trying to roughly position that light so that my shadow here is at the same rough angle as that one. So my light selected down here, Y on the keyboard, and I can just move that around in real time and position like so. Okay, let's go back to my quad view here. We'll select the ground plane and go to Surface Editor, Ground Plane Object, and we'll just quickly drop on yet another shadow catcher, material, shadow catcher, and plug that into the material. Like so. And there you have it. Now we have our cube matched perfectly within this background image. We can move our cube around. We'll just click on Object, T, let's move down, and just move that cube around. We can see it's matching up quite nicely there. Let's just expand this view out a little bit more. And it's following that line quite nicely all the way down. So the camera exporter from SketchUp has done a really good job for us, and it's saved us a lot of time. The interactive perspective tool inside of SketchUp required a little bit of setup, but once we were there and got the origin set and the two perspective lines, the two vanishing point perspective lines inside of the camera match tool, as soon as those were set up, we were pretty much done as far as camera matching goes. The only thing is to bring that information then into LightWave, and then we can just set up these kind of cubes or the objects that we've built just to test that it is matching correctly. Okay, that ends this first section in part 2. The next section of part 2 is going to look at the object exporter as well. So we will create a little bit more geometry inside of SketchUp and export that geometry out. It's a little bit more advanced and requires a little bit more knowledge of SketchUp, but it's still very easy to follow along. So I'll see you in the next section.